Welcome to Aqua, all about the beauty and the purity of water. Water is life, I think you'd agree. We rely on water from morning till evening and through the night, in towns, villages and globally. The gift of water is paramount in our experience of life. I was driving along Highway 11 thinking about what is truly Canadian, and it didn't take very long to realize at the heart and center of much of our Canadian experience is the experience and the enjoyment of water. Rivers, lakes, Great Lakes, snow, ice, good and bad weather. We all experience water. We need water. Water is life. And from morning till evening, we need water. We arrived in Canada in 1989, and we came to a church on the island of Ile Perrot in the St. Lawrence River. We quite often went to Point du Moulin, a small park where there's a beautiful old windmill Point du Moulin, and spent an afternoon there enjoying the scenery. It didn't take us long to be amazed at how much water we have here in Canada. You can stand on the edge of Ile Perrot Island and look down the St. Lawrence River out towards Montreal, and you get this beautiful vista of a very wide flowing river. Soon after that, we were off to Prince Edward Island, traveling along the St. Lawrence River, cutting over at Rivière-du-Loup into New Brunswick, and then spending, on the old road anyway, a lot of time driving through the beautiful vistas of the St. John River Valley in New Brunswick. Amazing beauty. When we later moved to Moncton, we quite often drove from Moncton to Shediac and on to Cape Palais, where there are beautiful beaches, and the water on the Northumberland Strait is surprisingly warm. They boast about this area having the warmest water north of the Carolinas, and it gets up to 80 degrees for about a month in the summer. So we often spent an afternoon or a day on the beaches of Cape Palais enjoying the warm water. Soon after that, we did our trip to see friends in Ajax, Ontario, and started appreciating Lake Ontario. Did you know that Lake Ontario means Lake of Shining Waters? And there are some beautiful scenes, especially if you go to the beaches on Lake Ontario near Toronto, and just get the sense of being at a vast ocean. Lake Ontario. Later on, when we moved to Toronto, friends told us about the Awenda Provincial Park, and probably the Awenda beaches are one of or some of the nicest beaches in Ontario. There are 4 beaches there, and we used to enjoy just swimming out into Georgian Bay, and every now and again there were rocky outcrops just level with the surface of the water, and you could swim for 10 meters and then climb up onto the next boulder or rocky outcrop and sit and meditate and enjoy the vistas. The beauty of pure, fresh, blue water. Well, we soon started camping in Algonquin Park, and Canis Bay was our choice. Again, a beautiful, smallish beach and a lovely lake, good fishing, beautiful canoeing, and the enjoyment of the gifts of nature. Truly, water is life. There's no doubt about it. And we need water desperately. The organization Arusha has a beautiful magazine, and this is what they were saying about water is life. Water is life seems the best way to sum up what water means to humans and other creatures. Water makes up 70 to 90% of all living cells. We are born in water. We drink it, wash in it, use it for transport, irrigation, recreation, food gathering and hydroelectric power. Water has a central place in all of the world's major religions. Maori, the indigenous people of New Zealand, introduced themselves by naming the river with which they identify. Freshwater ecosystems cover only 1% of the Earth's surface, but are home to 12% of all animal species. In the Bible, water is a powerful symbol for the life that God's Spirit brings. Water is also portrayed as an agent. God cares for all creatures by providing them with water. Thus, God's coming kingdom is a place of abundant, clean water. The desert blooms, and a life-giving river flows through God's city. Jesus himself used water as a way of speaking about the life he gives when he said to a woman sitting at Jacob's well, "If anyone is thirsty, let him come to me and drink. Whoever believes in me, streams of living water will flow from within him." So let's go back to the beginning. It says in Genesis, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And the earth was formless and empty. And the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters." Right from the beginning of the Bible, the Holy Spirit and water are connected intimately. And there the Spirit of God was, as a hen might brood over the eggs that are going to bring forth life, so the Spirit was brooding over the disorderly or chaotic matter before order, life and beauty was formed. The Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. And it continues to say, as God created the waters and the seas, in verse 6, God said, "Let there be an expanse between the waters to separate water from waters." God called the expanse sky. And so the differentiation between water and sky and then water and land was provided by God. "Let the waters under the sky be gathered to one place." The gathered waters he called sea. And so God brought about this incredible creation of water. As we consider the themes running through the Bible, one of the themes is the river of life. But let's give some time to thinking about the rivers of the world. All rivers, in one way or another, are fountains or sources of life. Life both to human beings, especially agriculturalists, and life to God's creatures. If we go from Eden to paradise, we see first of all that streams came from the earth and watered the whole surface. But there were actually 4 rivers connected to the headwaters. It says in chapter 2, a river watering the garden flowed from Eden. It separated into 4 headwaters: Pishon, Gihon, Tigris, and Euphrates. Now we still know of the Tigris and Euphrates, but we don't know about those other 2. So that's what it said right in the beginning in Genesis. God created the waters, streams flowed, and there were four special rivers flowing from the headwaters. If we go to the end, from Eden to paradise, Revelation 22 says, "The angel showed me the river of the water of life, as clear as crystal, flowing from the throne of God and of the Lamb down the middle of the great street of the city. On each side of the river stood the tree of life." 4 rivers sustaining life in Eden, and a great river of life sustaining life in paradise. The Tigris River, running through Iraq and Syria and other countries, is well known and essential for human life. And so also with the Euphrates, the river that probably Abraham trekked up as he left the Ur of the Chaldees to go to the Promised Land. But what about the Pishon and Gihon rivers? These are unknown today, but researchers have uncovered what they call a fossil river. The Bible says Pishon, that is, which compasseth the whole land of Havilah, where there is gold, and gives us 2 clues about the river. There is a recently discovered fossil river that runs from the western mountains of Saudi Arabia towards Kuwait. This now long since dry riverbed was detected by satellite imaging. Many have speculated that this may be the ancient Pishon, as it has been dry since between about 3500 BC and 2000 BC. Rather interesting. Others have surmised that the Gihon River could have in fact run where we now have the Red Sea, as you can see on the map, running straight through the Red Sea, which is a continuation of the Great Rift Valley through Africa, and that river would have run through the Great Rift Valley and the Red Sea and been connected to the headwaters of the source of the 4 rivers in the Garden of Eden. Let's think about the rivers of the world. And of course, the Nile comes to mind very quickly. The Nile is 6,650 kilometers long and discharges about 5,100 cubic centimeters per second. It is, of course, at the center of Egyptian culture and very much at the center of Moses' life in the Bible. Which is the longest river in the world, would you say? Well, let's take a look at the comparisons of the rivers. In fact, it is the Nile, but the Amazon runs a close second. But when we compare the flow, the Amazon is by far the greatest river with the greatest flow per second, 219,000 cubic centimeters a second. Yangtze is 3rd, Mississippi 4th, Congo 9th, and the first Canadian river, the Mackenzie, comes in 13th at 4,241 kilometers and just 10,300 cubic centimeters a second. The humble St. Lawrence comes in 26th, 3,058 kilometers. That's still some length, isn't it? And 10,000 cubic centimeters a second. These are all great and wonderful rivers that have played an essential role in the establishment of communities and cultures around them. If any river could be called the river of life, it would though certainly be the Amazon River. 6,400 kilometers long, very winding, and 219,000 cubic centimeters per second. For those who have had the privilege of going there or enjoying whatever holiday or research trip, exploration trip, the Amazon River truly produces a magnificent array of life and supports great beauty. The vegetation on the river is magnificent and abundant. The flowing water is incredible. Support for all sorts of aquatic life, like these large water lilies, unusual pink dolphins, and sort of rather dangerous wildlife, anacondas, and all sorts of fish which you would rather not know were lurking around your feet. Truly, God has provided rivers to sustain life, and rivers are important to so many towns and cities in East London, in Canada. Now let's consider a little bit more some other aspects then of water and the beautiful rivers and the Great Lakes of Canada. Did you know that 4 of the 5 Great Lakes touched Ontario? That's the amazing blessing and privilege we have here in Ontario. The Great Lakes are an incredible gift to the United States and to Canada. Lake Superior, Lake Michigan, Lake Huron, Lake Erie, and Lake Ontario. And I'm sure you've enjoyed some sort of vacation or trip on the edge of one of these lakes, or traveling through and past. We came from Alberta, a week in Alberta about 3 months ago, and flying over Lake Superior, it was amazing to see the size of this lake and the amount of water, the abundance of water that we have. These are God's Great Lakes. They're the largest group of freshwater lakes on earth. They hold 21% of the world's freshwater surface area. They have an area of 94,250 square miles, and their volume is 22,671 cubic kilometers. What an astounding gift and blessing. Their shoreline covers 17,000 kilometers. I'm sure there's nobody who has canoed that distance around each of these 5 lakes. We've enjoyed experiencing some of these lakes. We spent a night on Peely Island and had a great time there. It was just a little bit disconcerting with all the snakes. Fortunately, none of them poisonous. I was swimming probably the earliest swim in the season in about perhaps the 20th of May. We were there and the water was beautiful. It was a warm day, so I swam for a while, and as I was standing chest deep, I could see this snake slowly swimming past at a safe distance, and then it dived under. Where's it gone? But fortunately they weren't poisonous, so I wasn't too concerned. Did you know that the island, Peely Island, is the most southernmost point in Canada? So Audrey and I went out onto the spit there, and for a while boasted that we were the most southern Canadians at that point. But unfortunately it didn't make us famous. We holidayed at Tobermory and gone out on the Zodiac boats to Flower Pot Island, snorkeled there, beautiful, crystal clear blue water. But unfortunately not too many fish in the shallows. I've only been in contact with Lake Superior once when we were at Duluth, and we stopped, went out on the rocks, and I put my feet in for, I think it was half a minute, and the pain was too much. So anybody who has swum in Lake Superior, I take my hat off to you. We still go back to Awenda Provincial Park and just enjoy the beautiful beaches of that provincial park. As you can see, they're sort of white sand, light brown beaches, and the vistas are beautiful, and there are not that many crowds there. Go to Awenda Provincial Park for the day and you won't be disappointed. And so we come back to the Muskoka area. We had a house on Vernon Narrows for 4.5 years and enjoyed the beauty of Lake Vernon and walking around what we called the Loop, where we had a beautiful view, more than one view of Lake Vernon. Here's a 1970s picture where there's no settlement really, no houses built, and all you have across the Vernon Narrows is a train bridge, where there now is this very busy highway. Some of the most beautiful sunsets that one can enjoy are overlooking Lake Vernon. And so there's a great creation out there. God's lakes, God's rivers, rivers of life. And after God had created, it says in Genesis 1, and God saw that it was good. God had pleasure with his creation, and we join in that pleasure on so many occasions, enjoying what he has given us. The creation of water, rivers and lakes speaks to us of life, life affirming and life supporting water. The creation of water, lakes, rivers speaks to us of beauty, and the beauty of the environment and the beauty of all that God has given us. The dimension of purity. Unfortunately, as we'll see next time, we've hit a serious problem of pollution in our industrialized global world. But still, we seek to sustain water and to have pure drinking water as much as possible. And that's also the gift of God, purity. And always, God creates with purpose. And God has given us water for many life-affirming and life-giving purposes. He is the God of life, He's the God of beauty, He's the God of purity, the God of purpose. And the spirituality key that we can see as we think about water is the spirituality of creation. Life, beauty, purity, and purpose. And so it is that through this beautiful gift of water, we can have the experience of renewal. How beautiful to spend a week at the lake. Life slows down, distractions and anxieties are left behind, and there we can find renewal. Renewal with refreshment. We are re-energized and can return to life's responsibilities with some more hope, with some more restfulness and more peace. In fact, water in all its dimensions is God's revival agent. And so, let us be thankful to God for what He's given us, and let us enjoy the blessing of the gift of life through water.